MIA. A fist comes hurtling towards my face, and I can't duck as I am being held on either side by Chloe's friends, Darren and Lee. Her fist connected with my face. "That's what you get, you're stupid," she shouted as she threw another punch again. I was weak before as I had a battering from my father. He was drunk again. I have bruises all over my body. This was a different fight from her other ones against me. Her boyfriend Aiden wasn't there. "Are you listening to me?" She screamed in my face. I have a pounding headache. I groaned as another punch came at me. This time, it hit me in the stomach. We were supposed to be in English, but Darren grabbed me from behind as he dragged me into the boys' locker room, where they decided to unleash the assault on me. I fell to the floor in a heap. Sarah is on the lookout, as it is before the last period. As I lay on the floor, a boot came hurling at me. Many of them do. They hit my body all over. I can't even cover myself up, but the pain numbs me. All three of them are kicking and stomping on me. "Listen here, you should never have been born, stupid human brat. You caused your mother to leave our beta. Now we have a fair game with you. He told us last night. Now you should go home and stay there and die," Chloe says as she whispers in my ear. I lay there as all four of them leave, laughing. Not one of them glanced back. I cannot help but cry. "Don't cry, Mia. I'm sorry," says Lila. She's my wolf. "It's okay, Lila. You couldn't have helped me. I think they broke my ribs. We are trying to keep you safe from everyone," I said as I tried to lean half of my body against a locker. "We shouldn't have to," she says with a growl. "I am supposed to protect you, Mia, not the other way around." "Lila, we can't, and you know why," I said. It takes me a few moments as I stagger to my feet. I lean on the locker for support. This is going to kill. Walking home. The bell rang, and I heard people leaving the school. All the other kids were talking and laughing as they left. I knew I couldn't leave, but I couldn't help but look around the boys' locker room they had left me in. It is for our swim team, but they don't use it on certain days. I staggered to the basin and looked at my face in the mirror. I have a black eye and a swollen cheek. I couldn't help the sigh that left my lips. I wiped the blood from my mouth and headed to the door to make sure it was clear to go. I looked both ways to make sure no one was outside. I limped to the back door as I didn't live near anywhere in the pack house, but I could see Chloe and her friends outside. They are talking by Aiden's car, with Chloe leaning on the door, but no sign of Aiden. He's Alpha Robert's son, the next in line for the Alpha position. They couldn't see me, so I hid behind the door. But I suddenly could hear my name, and I used my werewolf hearing, but it was the same old thing that Chloe would run off. I'm a white wolf. No one has seen a white wolf in years. I'm protecting my wolf, as there have been some stories that our history teacher, Mr. George, told us, which were not pretty. Everyone in my pack thinks I'm human, but Lila and I use some of our power to mask our scent. Lila and I decided to hide her identity, even if it meant I got hurt. That needed to be taught a lesson, said Chloe as I listened in again. Beta David said he would handle her, but she managed to come to school again. What the hell, says Sarah. She is human. Chloe growls, that is going. But before she can finish that sentence, Aiden comes up behind her, turns her around, places his lips over hers, and kisses her. My insides hurt as I watched them. Aiden used to be my boyfriend until Chloe showed up. They used to be my friends, but they all turned against me. I hate them all. I hate the 5 of them. They have made my life hell. All dues go to my father and Chloe. Alpha Robert has been absent-minded for years and never bothers with anything like this. After the lengthy snogging session, Chloe smiled at Aiden, who smirked. What were you talking about? He asks. About me. Chloe giggled. No, babe, but I always think about you, especially when you bend me over and take me hard, she said. But that's not the case. We were talking about that stupid Mia. I had her good this time, she said, smiling, but she was cut off by a loud alpha growl coming from Aiden. What the hell, Chloe? He snarls and pushes her out of the way. He heads to the driver's side of the car. I couldn't help but look on. I can't leave now, or they will follow me. But it was weird to hear Aiden stick up for me. Babe, what's wrong? Asked Chloe. Before Aiden gets into the car, he glares at Chloe. You make it harder for me. I have to explain to her father about it, he says. Beta David has enough going on than to deal with this. The mere mention of my father has me scared, Aiden looked at Chloe and she stared back at him. He said he would handle her, and he would, he said. Yeah, he handled me all right. Chloe told my father that I was being a bok to her, but it was the other way around. When I got home, my father was waiting for me with a silver blade, and he had been drinking whiskey again. He held me down for hours, slicing pieces of me with that blade. As usual, I place a block up on Lila when people mention my father and when he's around. I know she can feel everything he does to me, but she knows I won't let her witness any of it. Well, he didn't do a good job, did he? She says with a dramatic stomp of her foot. I had to teach her a lesson. Aiden opens his door and looks at each of the people standing there. The other three haven't said a word, as they are more Aiden's friends than Chloe's. Get in the car now, and I will deal with you later, he says and gets in. Chloe and the others get into the car, and he speeds away, leaving tire markings on the ground as the wheel spins out of the school parking lot and heads to the pack house. I sighed and walked out of the school door. I glanced around and realized everyone had gone home. It seems I am the only one left. I looked towards the forest clearing and headed in that direction. My injuries are hurting me, but Lila is helping me heal, even if it is a slow process. We need to leave Mia, blurts Lila, pulling me from my thoughts, and I think we should do it soon. I didn't say anything, but I heard someone walking behind me. I looked over my shoulder and noticed a woman walking behind me. I smiled, but turned around and kept walking. All pack members live either in the pack house or around the area. I live in a cabin away from everyone. When my parents were together, we lived in the pack house years back when I was younger. I used to play with Aiden as a child, but my father told Alpha Robert that he wanted to keep his family away from other pack members as he thought someone was looking at his mate, my mother. The Alpha never questioned it, which many Alphas should. As soon as we moved into the cabin, things became weird. My mother was only there for a few weeks. I was told to stay at the pack house most evenings. 2 weeks later, my mother was gone without a trace. My father became depressed and violent, lashing out at anyone who mentioned her. That was the same time that he started hitting me. I would have a punch or a kick to the stomach, nowhere near my face. He still does it now. I have bruises on top of bruises, and he always made sure to wait. He would stay in the pack house and ensure I stayed in the cabin, away from everyone. I soon learned he blamed me for my mother's disappearance, which I never did. I had no clue where my mother went, but I assumed she had died. I looked behind me, and the woman had gone. I shrugged and headed towards the clearing of the cabin. I'm closer to the cabin, but I can smell his scent, my father's home. This is all I need. I walked to the entrance and appeared through the front door window. I closed my eyes and opened the door, but he sat up to look straight at me. He was lying on the couch when I looked in. He looked like he had passed out. Oh, how wrong was I? Before he said anything, I placed a block on Lila. Where have you been? Shh, he snarls. School, Dad. I'm going to make some food if you want to stay, I said, but he moved so fast and came over to me and grabbed my face with his fingers, squeezing my cheeks hard. What happened here? He says with disgust in his voice, his gaze boring into my face. The bruises on my face are hurting from the squeezing he is doing. Nothing. I walked into an open locker, I said, lying. My father stared for a moment but smirked when something registered. Chloe likes doing this. She is good, he said, looking impressed with her handy work. I might even get her to do it again. My father sent another teenager onto his daughter as the realization set in of what he had just said. I looked at him, and I was trying so hard not to cry. Why would he do this? Don't ever lie to me again, you he shouted. He looks at me and lets go. I go to move, but he swings his hand, which hits me square in the face, the back of his hand. He grabs me by my hair and pulls me down, making me fall to the ground. I'm going to show you never to lie to me. You are just like your mother, he roars. He backhands me again and again. My face is on fire. I tried not to scream, but a kick came straight into my face, making me gasp. I fell backwards and I landed hard on the floor. I can't turn over. He stomps down on my stomach. You stupid, he repeatedly says with each kick or stomp. After a few more seconds, he stops as a vibrating noise sweeps over the cabin. He stops and takes his phone out and sighs. Aiden's birthday party is tonight. I have to attend, he says. He looks down at me. I'm now in the fetal position. My stomach is in so much pain. He sighed. I have to go, but first, I need to release some of this anger, he says with a smirk as I look up at him. I can't move. I'm in too much pain. He walked over to his work bag, and I knew instantly what was in that bag. My father likes to bring weapons they use on the rogues to torture them for information. Sometimes he brings them home with him and tries them out on me. This explains all the scars I have all over my body that won't disappear. I never wear anything nice due to the scars. Lila tries to heal them, but they don't go away. I want to try this first, he says, pulling out a silver blade, but it has 2 pointy sides. I couldn't tell what the other side was, but I screamed. I know no one can hear me, as my father assured me. He made the cabin soundproofed. I scream as he comes closer. I feel a sharp stab in my thigh. I cried out loud. I have tears running down my face. The block I had on Lila was now down, and she was feeling everything. But before I could say anything, he stuck a needle into my thigh, where the slice of the silver blade had hit beforehand. I screamed, but Lila was whimpering harder in my head. Mia, it's wolfsbane. I cry in pain from another stab to the same cut in my thigh. I'm going to be up the pack house for the next few days, he says. I will give you time to heal, and when I come back I will bring another present for you, he says as he pulls me up to be near his face. Without flinching, he punches me in the face, knocking me clean out. I was sent into darkness as my head hit the floor. Aiden. Tonight's my birthday party, and I can't wait. I turn 18 tomorrow and will find out who my mate is. I know I have a girlfriend, Chloe, but we both agreed that we would keep each other company till we find our mates. I know she's hoping I will be her mate, but I don't think so. She hasn't got the Luna material, but she's definitely a good shag. She is basically the pack slut. I know I'm not the only person she has been sleeping with within the pack, as she has also slept with my friends, Darren and Lee, at times. We boys have been friends most of our lives. We were inseparable, always in a group, including Mia and Sarah. We were all friends back in the day, but we cut Mia off after rumors started to surface about her. The rumors floated around that Mia's mum left because she was human. Mia has no wolf. Her father told us that her mother couldn't deal with a human child. Mia was cast out of our lives and made to be a loner. When we started high school, Chloe joined our pack with her mother and sister. She and I became close and have never looked back ever since. I never really thought about Mia, but she changed dramatically when she was cast aside. I have to admit I don't care if Mia is the cause of her mother's disappearance, but rumors circulate this pack like wildfire, and it is hard to work out what is real and what is not. Most of the rumors come from others from the pack, but I know Beta David has told everyone the same stories. But Chloe has also revealed some stories over the years which she heard from people who thought no one was listening. I know Mia gets bullied by my friends. I try not to get involved. I used to be her boyfriend before Chloe came along. I don't take part in the beatings that everyone does to her. I sometimes feel sorry for her, but I can't be associated with her. She is human. We only kept her around because her mother wanted her, but we didn't care what happened to her as she wasn't our problem. I sighed and got dressed for my party. I could feel a mind link open up, and it was Lee. Hey dude, he said, are you Chloe tonight, or are you still pissed at her for what she did, he asked. I couldn't help but frown. I got pissed off with her as she gave Mia another beating. She has been lying in the beating more lately. I have to draw the line somewhere. Mia is only human. She can't heal like we do. I knew I wouldn't want anything to do with Chloe tonight. I wanted to have some fun, even with another. I am not touching her tonight. You can, I said to him. You can take the slut. Lee laughed through the mind link. Thanks, man. I will keep her busy and her. I take it you are on the prowl and looking around for someone else tonight. I will make sure she doesn't come looking for you. Who are you thinking? He asked. I laughed. There were many gorgeous women in our pack to choose from, but I was picky. I don't know. Evie is looking hot, but so are Amber and Danielle too, I said. I have an idea. Have a threesome, he said. Tell them that's what you wished for your birthday, of course. I could feel his smirk through the mind link. I chuckled. I think I might say that. I said and closed the mind link. We should wait for our mate, said Jake, my wolf. I couldn't help but sigh. Jake has been on about finding our mate for years since he came to me. I know he doesn't like Chloe or the others I bring to my bed. I always block him. I know, but I want some fun tonight before I get stuck with one woman, I said, blocking him out of my head. I carry on getting ready, which doesn't take me too long. The party started in 5 minutes. I had just finished styling my hair and ensuring I looked good before leaving. My father's voice came through a mind link to me. Beta David is staying here this evening, as we will be going through some stuff in the office, such as the rogue situation in the morning. He is staying here for a couple of days, he said. My father sighed. You need to be careful tonight around other women as you will need to find your mate soon, he said. I sighed and closed my eyes. My father had been on about finding my mate for the last 3 months. He has been worse than Jake. I hope I find her tomorrow, I said as I opened my eyes. I wasn't lying about that, and I want one more night of fun before settling down. My father grunts. Well, I hope it's not Chloe, he said. I am already down in the hall, and she's already all over Lee like a rash. I smiled. I had to thank Lee later. I know it's not her dad, I said. I would have some sense from her, but there is none. My mind wandered slightly as Mia popped into my head. I have always felt a connection with her, but she can't be my Luna. I can't accept her. I shook my head to get rid of the thought. I closed the mind link down and headed to the hall for the party. When I get to the hall, everyone who is everyone is there. There must be over 400 people in total. I knew my father invited most of the people, as they are people who work alongside him. I walked through the hall, smiling and nodding as I passed people. I looked around to find where my friends were. I'm taking Chloe outside, said Lee through MindLink. I smirked. I looked around and spotted Darren with Beta David and his father. Both older men were talking, but my eyes went to Beta David. He looked like he was on the whiskey again and looking worse for wear with the way he was swaying. Darren looked like he wanted to be somewhere else, but looked toward me. I think he started earlier than all of us. He's wasted, Darren said through the mind link. I think I can smell blood on him too. I couldn't help but raise my eyebrows. I looked at David, who was laughing at something that Darren's old man had just said to him. I'm not far from them, and I couldn't help but sniff the air. My nose scrunches up. Darren's right. There is a stench of blood on him. I couldn't place who or what it was, as there was a faint smell of alcohol that he must have spilled on himself. What the hell did he do before he came here? Beta. David was known for his torture with instruments when it came to getting information out of rogues, but we had no rogues in the cells to interrogate. I shrugged off the feeling and walked over to them. I needed to mingle and also find my new target, unknown. I could smell the blood on him again. He hurt her. Not only does she have to put up with that jackass, but people from school. I need to get her out of this pack. She needs to be with her family. I looked around. Mia had had no one looking out for her, by the look of it, for many years. No friends, even the ones that she grew up with, have left. I looked at the young alpha. They all need someone to kick their asses. I have to check on her, make sure she is okay. I turned on my heel and headed out the door, till a man shouted, "Mate!" I spun around and saw Gamma Darren. He was looking at Evie. She looked absolutely stunned, and she said "mate" in a whisper. They head to each other and dance. I look over at the young alpha, who looks happy for his friends. I leave this horrendous party and head towards the cabin. I make sure no one follows or sees me. As I get outside and head towards the forest, I hear a lot of moaning coming from the side. It is the 2 stupid kids that hurt Mia earlier today. The girl is up, pressed against a tree with one leg hooked around his waist, moaning loudly as he pounds into her hard. He grunts as he goes. I rolled my eyes. I look at them once more to see if they spotted me when they go quiet, but they have changed positions. They didn't notice me or even the 2 men behind the tree. Off to them. Stupid kids. I walked through the forest and ran as no one came in this direction, only David, but he was in no fit state to return. I took 20 minutes to get to the cabin, but came to a halt when a scent came to me. It's not the wood of the cabin I smell, or the flowers around it. The smell was coming from inside. Blood. Without delay, I ran towards the door and barged through, but stopped as I searched round until I found her. There, laying on the floor in her own blood, is the sweet girl. She is bleeding really badly from her leg. I looked around and grabbed a tea cloth and went over to her. I bent down and placed it on her leg. The wound is deep. I took out my phone to call my pack to let them know what I had found, but more importantly, I was going to need help with getting Mia out of here. The phone is answered after the first ring. "Hello, Gwen. How is the loud voice says, but I cut him off. I know 5 of them have been waiting for my call in the last 3 days. But I couldn't ring them till I knew I had something new to report. And I only found out something earlier, but this is more important. I have got little to report what I found, but I need someone to meet me halfway tonight. He has attacked her, this time terrible," I said to them. Loud gasps could be heard, but it was her crying hard that got my attention. She says nothing. "I will meet you, Auntie. Send me the directions, and I will come to meet you in the next hour," my niece says. I will give the details of a safe house that a friend of mine lives near. I already messaged him to tell him everything. He was more than happy to help. He wants to help her like everyone else does in our pack. I look at the girl laying on the ground. "I can smell wolfsbane," my wolf says to me. "I thought she was human. I can smell her wolf. She is out cold." A wolf. I had never smelt her wolf before. My wolf grunted, but I ignored her. It doesn't surprise me that she has been hiding the fact that she is a wolf from him. But I wonder why. Shaking my head as I needed to help her. "We need to get her out of here," I said. "Now." I picked her up and walked out of the cabin and headed towards the clearing of the woods. The same way she came earlier to the cabin. I placed her under a tree for a moment and looked towards the cabin. I knew I needed to make sure he didn't find her. I had to make it look like she died. It was the only way to save her. I walked back and headed back inside the cabin. I looked for some of her things. Searching the cabin gave me the shivers, as there wasn't much you could call furniture, let alone make it a home, but she managed. I walked around till I found her bedroom. I didn't know what to expect, but I wasn't totally surprised to find that she doesn't have one, not like a child should have one at least. I took in the tiny room. There was a mattress on the floor and a pile of dirty clothes on the ground near to it. Only a handful of books were at the side and nothing else. He made her live like this. He is a pig. "This is bad," says my wolf. "What are you looking for?" I sighed, still looking around till I spotted something in the corner, a little container. I walked over and bent down, picking it up to open, but I soon realized that it was what I wanted to take. "Found it," I said. "This is her mother's. She must hide it from him. It is the only thing she has left of her, judging from the state of the cabin." My wolf howls in pain at the thought of what happened to my dear friend. I walked back through the cabin, placing the container in my pocket, but I stopped at the kitchen. I had to do something. Looking around, I walked over to the oven and put the gas on the stove. He definitely will not find her if he thinks she is dead. As I moved away, I noticed some matches. I grabbed them as I headed toward the door. I walked out of the cabin and back towards Mia, who was still out cold under the tree. "You are going to need to run with her," says my wolf with a smirk. "The car is back at school. I will drive for a while till I meet my niece," I said, and lit a match I found in the kitchen. The flame blared, and I flicked it through the doorway where it landed. I picked up Mia and started running, heading towards school. It wasn't long when I got close that I heard the loud bang of the cabin that caught fire and was now ablaze. The forest was covered in thick, black smoke. I placed Mia and the small box on the back seat. I placed another cloth over the wound on her leg. It is not healing, but it has stopped bleeding. I closed the back door and headed to the front and climbed into the car and drove as fast as my little car could take us. Over the next 3 hours, I drove in silence, only glancing back to make sure we were not followed, but checking on Mia. I turn a corner and arrive at a secluded motel. The motel is run by a rogue. He is a friend of mine, so he knows when he sees me I am meeting someone. He walks over to the car, but stops suddenly when I open my car door. "Who is that on your back seat?" he asks, looking through the window. "I need medical supplies. Do you have any?" I asked, ignoring his question. He nods and runs straight back to the office of the motel. I got out of the car and headed around to get Mia out. I picked her up and headed over to my usual door at the motel. I headed inside and placed Mia on the bed. My friend runs in with the medical supplies but stops to a halt and gasps. "She can't be more than 17 years old," he says as he looks at me. I gave him a slight nod and looked at her. "I need your help with stitching the wound?" I asked. Without a word, he walks over and helps me stitch the wound up. In silence, we worked on her leg, but I could feel his eyes on me. "This is the girl I was on about the last time I came here," I said to him, not looking up from what I was doing. A growl slips past his mouth. "That bastard did this to his own daughter." I looked up at him and nodded. "Toby, she's going to have to stay here till..." But before I could say anything, the door opened with my niece Sasha standing in the doorway. She gasps but growls suddenly. "Auntie, you need to go back just in case they think it was you that made the cabin explode." I looked back at her and smiled. "You take over and stay with her. Take her back to the pack. She will want to see her," I said. Sasha smiled. "She was upset when I left, but Alpha Sam will watch her and the others till I get back with her." I look back at Mia. She is still out cold. I got up and looked at Toby. "Let them stay here." He nodded and grabbed my hand. "I will look after them. Gwen, I want to prove to the Alpha that I can be trusted. I will get rid of everything, all the bloodied cloths and everything, when they have gone." I nod. "We will leave as soon as she wakes up," Sasha says. "We have a long drive ahead of us. Toby, can you close the door and leave the key on the table? I will tell you when we will leave. I might leave in the car with her still out cold, all depending on the whole situation with her injuries." I say nothing, but watch as Toby leaves the room. Sasha turns to me with a hint of worry in her eyes. "Auntie, be careful when you go back," she says with worry in her voice. I smiled and gave her a hug for reassurance. "I will, Sash, monitor our girl," I said as I turned and headed to the door. I opened it and turned to look over my shoulder to see Sasha sitting next to Mia, stroking her hair. She smiles up at me. "I got this, Auntie. We will be safe." I turned and shut the door. I have to return to the pack that I just came from. Alpha Sam from the Dark Forest pack, the biggest pack in the state, wanted to have a representative here to go over their rogue issues that they have had over several weeks. I was to help them with their rogue problem. Well, that's what they thought. Alpha Sam also gave me another order. I had to retrieve Mia. She needed our help. Our spies who came before me knew what was going on and explained that there were issues regarding her that were worrying. Alpha Sam made sure it was me that went as I helped the last time. I needed to do it for her. I arrived 2 days ago, and I have witnessed Mia being abused a few times by different people. I told Alpha Sam the first day I got there, and we both agreed that I would get her out of there when I had the other information, but I had to help her in any way I could. She would have been dead if I hadn't gotten out of there today. That cut on her thigh is going to leave a hell of a scar. I walked over to the car and jumped in. I sped away from the motel. I headed back the way I came. I told Alpha Robert that I wouldn't come to the party, and I was glad I had left for a few moments. I can just say I had to get a few things for my stay, which is true, but he doesn't need to know I had everything in my car. I head back. It will be another 3 hours back, but at least Mia is safe now. Finally, Aiden. The party was in full swing. Darren and Evie were all over each other since they found out that they were mates. Darren is a few hours older than me, and Evie is older by 2 months. I smiled at the happy couple. Now I can't even have Evie anymore. She was one hot woman any man would dream of having in their arms. I look over to see Danielle flirting with a guard, but it is Amber that catches my eye. She smirks and comes walking over. "You finally got rid of." Before she can say anything, Chloe comes into view. I watch as she runs her fingers through her hair and follows Lee. She struts over to me and places her mouth over mine. She smells like Lee. I smirk. I look over at Lee, who looks at Sarah as if she is his next victim. I can't help but frown. The damn guy needs a muzzle. Chloe pulls away and turns to Amber. Her face hardens and growls at her. "He is mine. Leave him alone." Amber stares at Chloe, unfazed and not even bothered, as many she-wolves know what my relationship with Chloe is like. We may be boyfriend and girlfriend, but there is no love between us. Well, not on my part. All I want to do is have fun before finding my mate. Amber looks at me, but she says nothing. Meet me in my room later. I mind-link her as I kept my eyes on her with a knowing look. She won't be there. Bring Danielle too. I want both of you. I wink at her when Chloe turns and faces me with a smile. My eyes stay focused on Amber as she smirks. Naughty Alpha, do you want the two of us tonight? You better ditch her, and how can you be around her when she smells like Lee? He wants your sloppy seconds? Or is he that desperate to get laid? He takes the raging of the pack. I shrug. I don't know what his deal is, I mumble. But as for the two of you, I want to have the best birthday ever, and having both of you in my bed would make the night even more special. Amber says nothing as I close the mind link. I wrap my arms around Chloe to turn her around. She looks at me and smiles. Baby, are you having a good party? I nod with a grin. Yeah, I am, I murmur as I pull her toward me. Are you enjoying yourself? Oh, baby, I am having the best time, she says, looking around until she spots something. I darted up and saw Lee moving away, laughed with Sarah following behind him. I grinned. Come on, let's dance, I mumbled in her ear. Chloe nods, leads the way to the dance floor, and pulls me along with her until we are in the middle of the room. We move together. After a few minutes, we danced to a few songs, but some warriors running in interrupted the music. I stared at them as they ran over to my father. I listened in to find out what was going on. They were asking for Beta David. My eyes darted around the room, and I found him passed out on the couch in the corner. Damn, man, he was drunk again. Why did he have to drink so much? My eyes went to my father. Babe, I need to find out what's wrong. I mumbled to Chloe as I left her. I heard her call out to me, but I ignored her as I walked up to my father and the guards, who looked worried. Are you sure it's his cabin? My father asked, looking between each guard. The guards nodded. Alpha, it is his cabin, one said. We are trying to contain it, but What's going on? I blurt, looking between both men. What's wrong with Beta David's cabin? Young Alpha Beta David's cabin is ablaze, the other warrior says loudly. Loud gasps could be heard, and whispers. What about Mia? My father asks. Was she in there? I turned to face my father with wide eyes. Mia was there. She never comes here. My father's face hardened, but you could see the pain in his eyes. You need to tell me, he growled. The warrior looks at him with a worried look. Sir, some members are working on putting out the fire, but we don't know if anyone is inside, as the fire has swept over the whole cabin. If she were in there, she wouldn't be alive. I feel a pang of pain, and my wolf is restless. He has been restless all night, but he never acts like that. When I looked over to where my friends were, everyone was shocked, but when my eyes landed on Chloe, she wore a big smile on her face. The witch is finally dead, she mumbled. I know few heard her comment, but I did, and so did Darren, who glared at her. I didn't want to deal with her. My friends looked at me, and all I could feel was worry and guilt coming from them. We have been my friends throughout school since we were all 4 years old. They were also Mia's friends too at one point. But the looks they were giving me now were full of concern and guilt. We may have disliked Mia now, but there was clearly something wrong. Maybe she set the cabin on fire because of what we did, but that wouldn't be right. My mind was playing tricks on me. Why would I care about Mia? I haven't in such a long time. I turned around and headed toward my father. What should we do? I asked. What about David? My eyes moved toward the pissed fart on the couch, who hadn't moved during all the commotion. My father looked at me as his face hardened toward his friend. We won't wake him, he said, turning around to face me. We will wait till he wakes up, but we need to know if Mia was in there so we can tell him straight away. He sighs and places his hand on my shoulder. Here is where you can be more alpha, Aiden. Go to the cabin and see if you can find anything. Try to contain the fire and learn more about what happened. I don't want to worry about David until we have answers. I nod. I will take Lee and Darren with me, I murmured. My father says nothing as he turns back around to his friend on the couch. I knew he had more to worry about. I let out a sigh and looked toward Lee and Darren. You two, come with me, I said as I moved towards them but opened up a mind link. We need to find out what happened and if Mia was in there. We need to contain the fire too. Both of them nod, saying nothing. I closed the mind link and looked over to find the girls huddled together in the corner, Chloe and Sarah. I didn't have time for games. I needed to get the job my father wanted me to do before it worsens. I looked over at Amber and Danielle, who were now looking at me with sadness, which confused me. They never knew Mia. Why would they act like that? "What's wrong with you both?" I asked them as I approached them, which startled them. They stare but glare back. "We won't be coming to your room later," mind links Amber, and she turns on her heel. "What the hell just happened?" I look at Danielle, who frowns. "We never bothered her because everyone told us stories about her, but you have to admit, are they true?" She says as she looks towards Chloe. Confusion set in. "Who are you on about?" I asked. Danielle stared back at me with a look of disappointment. "Mia?" My heart sank. "It's funny, Mia was with you all 1 minute, and the next, Chloe is part of your gang and jumping in your pants," she blurts out. My eyes widened as she moved away. "You might have gotten something from her by how she likes to mess around." I watched as Danielle headed the same way as Amber. Confusion and shock gripped me as she had never spoken to me like that before. Neither of them was the sort to be like that. "Well, it looks like my birthday night I will be by myself." I turned around to see Lee and Darren staring at me. I shrug and moved toward them. I walked towards the front door and walked straight into a woman. I look at her. She wasn't from the pack. Who was she? Aiden. I stared at the woman, who looked startled. She shakes her head. "Sorry, young Alpha," she says. "What's going on? I have just seen the fire as I pulled up here. It is horrendous. I hope no one's hurt." My heat sinks at the possibility that Mia may be in there. Clearing my throat, I spoke to her. "It's our Beta's cabin that he lives in with his daughter. I am heading here to see if she made it safely." The woman stills and looks saddened by my words. "If she were in there, she wouldn't be alive. I am sorry, young Alpha." My heart sank. I gave her a small smile and turned to leave when I realized I had never introduced myself to her. "Sorry for being rude. My name is Aiden," I said. "I'm Gwen," she says with a smile. "I'm the representative for the Dark Forest Pack." I nodded and smiled. "It's nice to meet you, Gwen." My eyes took her in. She would be around my mother's age. She didn't look like she was dressed for the party. "Gwen?" I asked, looking toward Lee and Darren, who were frowning at me. I looked back at her. "I have to ask, where have you been? I didn't see you around the party earlier." Gwen gave me a sheepish look and held up her duffel bag. "I left this in my car," she mumbles, "but my car had a flat earlier, so I had to put it in the garage a few miles away. I had a lift to the place and came back here." I looked at her and smiled. "That's okay. Why don't you rest?" I said. "I must go to the fire to ensure it doesn't spread." Gwen nods and heads through the pack house. I turned and walked up to the boys. My eyes went to the sky, where the thickest black smoke bellowed. We shift into my wolves and head straight to Beta David's cabin. We ran as fast as we could go to get to the cabin. The fire was bad as we approached and had spread to most of the trees nearby. I could see most of the pack members trying to put out the fire with what water they could find. The boys and I shift back into our human forms. Darren hands all of us shorts to put on. I looked at the cabin. We all used to go here when we were younger, when David made it for his mate and Mia. My alpha part kicked in, and I barked orders to everyone. We needed to control the fire. "Get the helicopter from the field," I shouted to a few men. They nod and take off running. As a pack, my father bought a few things we might need, and a helicopter was one of them. "Collect some water from the lake," I shouted again over a group of men nearby. I watched as they ran toward the lake. As a pack, we are the second largest pack with a few things we can pay for, but this is not the first time a fire has caught in the forest. There have been a few wildfires made, but nothing this big. Over the next several hours, as the sun was slowly coming up, they finally put the fire out. It took many people to get it out, but as a pack, we did. I look at where the cabin used to stand. Nothing was left. Only a few wooden pieces stood on the ground. I approached the cabin and surveyed the remains. There was nobody in sight. Even if Mia was there was definitely no sign of her now. "What the hell happened?" a voice roars from behind me. I looked over my shoulder and saw David standing with my father. The horror on his face made him look ill, but it could be the hangover from the drink. There was an explosion here, David, I tell him, even if we don't know for certain. I had to tell him something. We got it under control, but it spread to parts of the forest. David looked at me with a blank expression. Where is my daughter? He mumbled as his eyes moved to where the cabin stood. We don't know, I mumbled, staring at him. If she was in here, there is no sign of her now. David looks blankly, but he falls to the ground. What have I done? He whispers, with tears in his eyes. It's not your fault, my friend, my father muttered. Pain filled the air. You could feel it coming from people around me. It was smothering. My father places his hand on Beta David's shoulder. My eyes go to the grieving man. Beta David keeps repeating the same words repeatedly. He was a mess. My father motioned for a guard to come over to help him. The guard helped my father to get David up to his feet. I watch as my father tells the guard to take him. The guard nods and helps David back through the trees. My father watched his best friend leave. He sighs and looks at me. He will live in the pack house with us. Whatever he needs, we will support him, he says. His eyes scanned the scene. I could tell at that moment that my father's heart was shattered. After a moment, he leaves to follow his friend back to the pack house. My eyes looked around. Pack members were packing up to leave and heading back. I looked at Darren and Lee, sitting on the side of the clearing on a tree trunk. I walked over and joined them. Can't believe this happened, says Lee, as I sat down next to him. His eyes were on the empty charcoal wood. My heart hurt. We shouldn't have followed or listened to Chloe, Darren blurts out, guilt riddling him. Mia was our friend before her, yet we all accepted what she said, even you, Aiden. I looked at my friend, who glared at me. You started a relationship with her, even when you were with Mia. Anger filled me while my wolf growled. There was something up with him as he placed a block on me. He never liked the way we all treated Mia. He would go back further into my head when something was happening. I kept quiet, as words would only fuel the anger and guilt. My mind raced over the last few years with Mia and how it got to where we had been. Mia changed dramatically over the last few years, especially when her mother left. Everyone blamed her, especially David. Mia changed her appearance completely after that. She loved showing her legs off and wearing the most gorgeous dresses to school or parties. She was cute, but she became a different person when she changed, especially when she didn't shift. Everyone shunned her the day she didn't get her wolf. She changed her appearance, wearing more baggy clothes, things that would cover her up. Her brown hair was messy, and she always wore the same thing, as if she slept in them. Shaking my thoughts away, I sighed and looked at my friends. Let's go home and sleep. It's been a long night, I said. Lee nodded, but Darren looked at the cabin once more. What do you think happened in there? He said. I wonder if she got out. I wondered the same, but Mia seemed weak. I know we all bullied her, but more must have been going on. I looked back at my friend. I hope she did, but there is no point in thinking about it. I got up and looked back at him. Stop. We should all get some sleep, I said with a smile. Tonight, Darren found his mate. By the way, dude, you have a mate now. Darren looks at me with a small smile. Hot Evie is my mate, he says, making me laugh a little. Yeah, dude, she is all yours, I said as we stepped away and headed back through the forest into the pack house. MIA. I felt a softness underneath me. I don't want to wake up from this dream. But something doesn't feel right. I suddenly shot up in the same spot and looked around. I am in a room that has 2 double beds, a door, and a stand with a TV on it. My eyes went over to a door, which must be the bathroom, as I could hear running water. But it halts. I look down and notice someone has wrapped up my leg in a bandage. I hear a whimper in my head. That hurts, Lila whimpers. After a moment, she moves toward the surface and looks around. Where are we? She asks, sounding confused. This is not home. Looks too nice. I don't know, Lila, but we definitely not home, I say. But the door to the bathroom opens and out walks a girl the same age as me. She looks at me and smiles. Hey, you're up, she says, stepping closer to me. I look at her, but when she takes a step closer towards me, I move up the bed but whine in pain from my leg as my hand goes to the bandage. The girl halts. Don't move, Mia. I won't hurt you, she says. My name is Sasha, and I am here to help you. I look back at her, stunned. How do you know my name? I asked in a shaky voice. She looks at me and smiles. You had a friend in that pack of yours. They noticed how badly hurt you were and brought you here to heal. They asked me to take you to my pack, the Dark Forest Pack, she finally says. My mouth gaps open. Black Forest Pack. They are the largest pack in the state. Shadow Creek, my pack, was the second or third largest pack. My mind raced over what she said, and I frowned. Who the hell helped me? No one from my pack would. She must have been mistaken. I look up at her as she is now dressed and has now come closer to me. I am going to change the bandage on your leg. You can get dressed, and we will leave for my pack, she says as she gets all the new medical supplies off the nearby table. I nod but watch her every move. I have never had someone be so nice to me, especially in the last few years. I watch as she sits on the bed and slowly unravels the bandage off my leg. After she slowly unraveled the bandage off my leg, I noticed the thick slice on my thigh. I wince at the sight of it. It will leave a hell of a scar there. That looks painful, Mia, says Lila, coming closer to check the injury. I could feel her guilt slip through. I am so sorry he did this to you. It's not your fault, I say, but I look towards Sasha, who is now staring at me in awe. You have a wolf, she asks. I look away. I felt movement as Sasha came closer to me. Her finger went to my chin and moved me back to face her. Don't hide her from me, Mia. Your eyes turn when she comes closer, Sasha says. That's how I know. I say nothing as a smile curls the corners of her lips. After a few awkward moments of what to say next, Sasha beats me to it. Why does everyone in that pack of yours think you are a human when clearly you are a wolf? She asks as she moves back closer to my leg and cleans around the wound. I stare at her, trying to figure out if I should trust her. Do you think we can trust her, Lila? I ask my wolf. She comes closer. She looked at Sasha, who was staring back at her with a huge grin. You are wondering if you can trust me, she says. The answer is yes, Mia, and, she says, but she gets cut off by Lila, who pushes me back and takes over me. I stay close to the surface, letting Lila speak for us. Lila, I'm Mia's wolf, Lila says, which startles Sasha a little. After she composes herself, nice to meet you, Lila, she says. Where has Mia gone? Lila stares at her for a moment before she speaks again. Mia is close. She let me talk to you, Lila says. I can hear everything that they are saying. She is a little scared, as you are the first person in a long time who has ever been nice to her, Lila says with a hint of venom. I only recently found out about her father hurting her a few days ago, as she would block me from everything he was doing to her. When I asked her about it, she would lie, but I know she is protecting me even though it should be the other way around, she says. Sasha looks at Lila. Why would she be protecting you? You are her wolf, she asks. Lila looks at her and smiles. We are different, she says. I'm a white wolf. We heard a lot of stories over the years about them, mainly in school. We can be powerful. Lila stops, moves her head to the side, and looks at her before she continues again. Sasha, I have some power. I mask our scent as human to help protect us, but over the last few years it never works as everyone, even her old friends, turned on her, she says with a growl escaping. I love my human for protecting me, but now I need to protect her. I can't heal her like a normal wolf, as I have to reserve my energy, and we are too weak. Her father never let her train, so we are weak, and we need to get strong to help each other. Sasha looks on at Lila, astonished by the wolf. Sasha smiles back. We will help you in the pack. Mia and you, Lila, are safe with us. Am I the first person you have come forward to talk to? Lila looked at her and nodded her head. Mia didn't trust anyone within the pack. The only one she did trust was the young alpha, but he changed in front of her many times because of the others who joined. I can feel the pang of hurt from Lila. She is hiding something. What's wrong, Lila? I ask her. Lila sighs and pushes me forward as she slips back into the back of my head. I am hurting because I thought he would like us, but he never will. She goes back but stays close. I look at Sasha and she stares at me. Mia, you are back? She says and sits next to me, taking my hand in hers. Mia, I am so happy you let Lila come to meet me. I am a friend and I will protect you. We need to leave now. Sasha moves off the bed and lets go of my hand. I watch as she goes to the table and rummages through a bag and pulls out some clothes. She turns around and smiles as she brings them to me. I look at the clothes that Sasha hands to me. I stare at them. They are not mine. Where did these come from? I ask, but Sasha smiles at me. I bought them. I got you some new sweatpants and a baggy t-shirt, she says, but her face holds anger and sympathy for me in her eyes. I had to get you out of your clothes last night. I have seen all the bruises and scars that you have. I look away, feeling ashamed of the thought of someone seeing them all. Mia, don't be ashamed. Whoever did those deserves everything that comes to them in the future, she says, placing her hand in mine and giving me a gentle squeeze. I look back at her as tears escape my eyes freely. I best get changed so we can leave, I say as I move slowly, letting go of her hand. I move to the edge of the bed as Sasha leaves the room so I can get changed. I change quickly as I don't enjoy seeing my body. I place the flip-flops that she bought on and sit back on the bed. I sigh as Sasha comes back into the room with a bag of food. It smells delicious. Bacon and sausage rolls. My mouth waters at the smell. I don't know when the last time was I had food. Sasha grins at me as she sees my eyes. You must be hungry. Here, take one, as you didn't eat when you got here. I grab one, a sausage roll, as Sasha hands the bag to me. I took a bite and let out a low moan. The sausage tasted nice and the butter with the bread was glorious. I let out another moan of delight. Sasha laughs but says nothing. I say nothing as I carry on eating and finish the roll, but it is all I could eat. I couldn't eat too much as I would be sick. Sasha looks at me. Do you want another one? There is plenty there, she says to me. I shake my head. No, it's okay. I don't eat a lot. Anyway, if I eat any more, I'll be sick. She stares at me but says nothing. I know there are questions she must have, but I don't really want to tell her anything yet. Not until I get to know her. Sasha finishes her roll and wraps up the others. We will have a bit later on the way back to the pack, she says, and she grabs her bag. She looks at me. Come on, let's get going, Mia. I nod. I move off the bed and follow her toward the door. Once she opens the door, I step out and look around. We must be in a motel or something. There were no cars in the car park, only one, hers. I look around, but notice a man staring at us with a smile. My eyes went to Sasha's car and limp over to it. I was walking funny because of the bandage on my leg. You finally awake, miss? The man says as he comes closer to the car and opens the door for me. You had me worried. My name is Toby, he says, holding out his hand. I shake it and give him a small smile. I'm Mia, I say back as I climb into the passenger side and take a seat. Glancing over to the side, I watch as Sasha opens the back door behind the driver's side and places a bag on the back seat. She shuts the door and opens her door, but before she gets in, she looks at Toby and smiles. Thanks, Toby, for keeping us safe. Clean up everything now and open for business, she says as she gets in. I look back at Toby, who shuts my door. Sasha winds the window down for me, and I look up at him. You helped me, I ask with confusion, and he gives me a sheepish look as he rubs his hand over his neck. Yeah, I always be here, Mia, he says and looks at Sasha, who also smiles back at him. Now, you must leave. I need to open for business. I will see you both soon. Lila says nothing while he talks, but I can feel her warmth wrap around me. I gave a slight nod and Sasha starts the engine as her car roars to life. She looks over her shoulder and reverses. She turns the car around and we head in the opposite direction to Shadow Creek. I feel a hint of sadness coming from inside me. I don't know why I'm going to miss the pack. They hurt me, but Lila is resting her head on her front paws as I look back at her as she speaks. We will be back, Mia. We need to be ready and trained first, she says. They didn't take care of you. Now we must look after ourselves. I know, but he was the only family I had left, I said to her. She growls. You don't hurt the people who you are supposed to love, Mia, especially your family members. I know she is right, but I know nothing else. He was my father, the only living relative I had left. I let out a sigh and Sasha looks over at me. What's wrong, Mia? Can you miss someone who has hurt you? I ask her. I feel her tense, but she relaxes. You can, Mia. Even if they hurt you in the worst possible way, you will miss them. Who you going to miss? She asks me with concern. I know she wants to know who hurt me, but it's not a car conversation. I don't think I will miss them, I blurt out. I had some good memories before everything started. I look out the window and lean into the chair, but I couldn't help the sleep that took over me. I was thrown into the darkness of sleep. Even through the Black Forest pack was a worry. Would they like me or hurt me like my pack did? All I know is I must keep Lila and me safe, no matter what. We, MIA. I woke up with a start. My eyes scanned around to see where we were. We were still in the car, and the radio played softly in the background. Moving up in my seat, I shaked the dreaded feeling I had. I had a nightmare. I dreamt I was trapped in a burning building. I felt the heat making my body boil. "You okay, Mia?" "You were having a nightmare," Sasha says, her voice filling the car. I look over at her as she stares at me and then back at the road. Clearing my throat, I try to get comfy in my seat. "I'm okay. How much further is it to the pack?" I ask, trying to switch the subject of talking over. She doesn't say anything for a moment. "Another 2 hours. I groan as I look at the clock on the dash. We have been in the car for over 3 hours. Where the hell was this pack to? Sensing my unease, Sasha spoke again. "We will have to get out and stretch our legs soon," she says. "I know a cafe that is only 5 minutes away from here. Then we can have an hour to walk around, eat, and freshen up." "That sounds like a plan." I nod. We carry along the journey in silence until 5 minutes later. A cafe appears, one of the small ones in the middle of nowhere in the movies. I look at it. It was small and had loads of glass around it. I could make out 2 people working and 1 man in a booth as we approached. Sasha pulled the car into the car park as the man from the booth left the cafe. We both climb out of the car once she knocks the engine off. I was as he looked at Sasha and smiled before climbing into his car and leaving. "They know each other," Lila mumbles in my head. Lila had been quiet for most of the journey. She fell asleep when I did. I said nothing but looked at Sasha, who smiled. "Do you know him?" I ask her, and she blushes at me. "Yeah, I do. He is one of my brother's friends." She looks at me. "I will introduce you to everyone once you have settled in the pack." I said nothing as we headed into the cafe. We open the door and walk over to a booth. I slid in opposite Sasha and grabbed the menus. I looked through the menu when an older woman came with a smile. She stares at me for a moment, but looks between us. "What can I get you?" she asked. After a few seconds, we decided on burgers with fries and 2 coffees. The woman takes the menus and leaves. I look forward and catch Sasha looking at me. "How are you feeling now?" she asked, looking concerned. "I'm fine," I muttered and looked around. There was no one else around. I looked back at her and gave her a small smile. "My leg doesn't hurt much now." Sasha nodded and smiled. "That's good to hear," she said. "Maybe Lila healed you." Lila moved in my head and sighed. "I'm trying," she murmured. "But it is very deep. I don't think I can heal it all. It will leave a scar." "It doesn't matter," I tell her, feeling her guilt slip through. "I'm used to having scars. What's another one going to do?" Anya said nothing. I felt her plop down. My eyes went to Sasha. "She's trying," I muttered as I leaned back. Sasha nodded. There was an awkward silence between us. My eyes went to the photos on the cafe walls. There were many scenery photos and many forests, but all at different times of the day. I liked the snow one. The whiteness of the snow made the whole place look magical somehow. "Could you tell me what happened?" Sasha blurts out. My eyes widen as I stare at her, stunned. "What do you mean?" I ask, playing with my fingers in my lap but keeping my eyes on her. Sasha leans back and sighs. "The injuries that you got," she asks. "I saw many scars when I undressed you. They look like they are from separate incidents." I stayed quiet for a while, but she opened her mouth again and spoke. "I know you don't know me and may think I'm being nosy, but like I said at the motel, I want to be your friend, Mia, if you let me. I will protect you and Lila too," she says. I don't say anything at first, but as I open my mouth, the older lady approaches us with our coffees. I close my mouth as she places the mugs before us and leaves shortly afterward. My eyes follow the woman until she goes behind the counter and into the back. I look back at Sasha, trying to figure out if I should tell her everything. I have never had anyone look out for me, not even rescue me as she and her friend did. I owe them everything as they saved my life. "Tell her," Lila whispers. "She may be able to help us." I ignore Lila and move my head to the side, taking in Sasha. Her eyes linger on me for a moment but softened. "I didn't mean to," she says, but I shake my head. "It's okay," I mutter. "I will tell you, but I am trying to think where to begin." Sasha nodded. "Start at the beginning or wherever you want," she says as she sips her coffee. I place my hands around mine and stare into it. I keep my eyes down as I don't want to look at Sasha because I feel ashamed. Well, I was attacked by some people from school, I mutter. They lied to someone, resulting in my father hurting me. I feel tears prick in my eyes, which makes me close my eyes as a lone one escapes. You know what the worst thing is? The people that hurt me in school were my friends once, I say, opening my eyes and looking at Sasha. Her face was blank. It all started when this new girl came to the pack. I was even her boyfriend's girlfriend. I leaned back as I felt my heart shatter slightly at the mere mention of Aideen, but I continued. She started spreading lies about me, and everyone turned against me, including my friends, I say. All of them hated me, but it was all because of her. A low growl erupted from Sasha, making me tense. I watched as she closed her eyes and took deep breaths. Lila looked through my eyes and stared at her. She's angry, she muttered. So is her wolf. I say nothing. Once Sasha calms down, she opens her eyes and looks at me. Sorry, she muttered. Continue. I open my mouth to speak, but I hear footsteps behind the counter. I close my mouth and see the older woman walking over with our plates on a tray, MIA. I look at Sasha, who has anger in her eyes, but she doesn't speak. I watch the woman place our food down and look between us. Sasha gave her a nod and left. Picking up my burger, I took a bite and savored the taste. I haven't had a burger in a long time. I place it down and look at her. Tell her everything, Lila murmurs in my head. I will keep quiet. This is your story. I ignored her as I swallowed the burger. I began to speak. Coley, her name was Choli, I said, making Sasha look at me confused, but I continued. She came to the pack for a better start. She came with her mother and sister. Her sister left after finding her mate at a gala ball. I sighed as I leaned back in the seat. The pack holds them every year, and when they arrived, Chloe acted strange. She acted jealous of everyone and wanted everyone to think she was special. That night, she drew her sights onto me, and she decided right there and then that I was the one she was going to hurt. She started making snarky comments about my appearance and bringing me down whenever she could, I said, feeling my stomach turn as I told her more about what happened to me. After a while, Choli did everything to destroy me more by telling people whatever she could to get them to listen. And when they did, they started to bully me like her. Some pack members despised me and even got in on the act of whatever she did to me that day. She wanted me out of the way. Some of the things she was saying were not true, but some were from behind closed doors. Only my father would know. Sasha's face hardened, but she said nothing. I picked up a French fry and ate it, but somehow lost my appetite. My thoughts went to what my friends did to me. Aiden, the young alpha, was my best friend and boyfriend at the time. His best friends were Darren and Lee, I say. Some memories flashed through from before all the torment started. I remember them protecting me every time my parents would fight in the kitchen when they thought no one was listening, but everyone was. They would either take me outside or even turn up the TV. So it all started with one girl, Sasha murmured, looking slightly concerned. I also take it your father was telling her things to hurt you. I gave her a nod as I continued. My friends all turned against me as soon as Chole joined the pack. Aiden never hurt me, but he never stopped them. Darren was my cousin on my father's side, but he believed everything that my father and Chole said without fault. Lee was always following them, but both of them would either hold me while Chole inflicted the pain or even join her in the assault. A lone tear escaped. No one knew what was happening at home. They all blamed me for something that wasn't my fault, I say. I took another bite of my burger and looked up to find that she had finished her food. This is the first time I have ever opened up to anyone about the abuse that has taken place at the pack. I had no one to talk to, and some probably wouldn't care about what happened to me, not even my so-called friends. Clearing my throat, I carried on. My father told everyone one evening in the pack house that I was the cause of my mother leaving him as I was human, I whisper. Sasha gasped. Why would he? She asked, but stopped when she stared at me when a lone tear escaped. Sasha placed her finger on her lips. Carry on, she whispered against her finger. Without saying anything, I continued again. I didn't know what happened between my parents, as I was with Aiden at the time at our favorite spot. When I got home, my father was standing there with a smile, but there was no sign of my mother. I say as a shiver rippled down my spine at the sadistic smile my father wore on his lips. Once Aiden left, my father dragged me inside and waited till Aiden was out of earshot. He gripped me tight and told me that she was gone and never coming back. Over the years, I knew something was going on with them, and I had a rough idea of why my mother left, but I had no proof. The night she left, she said she loved me, and that was it, I say as I gulped down some lukewarm coffee. My father was angry, but he told me that we would be moving out of the pack house. When we did, he got the smallest cabin he could find and far away from everyone in the pack. When we moved in, that's when it all started, I muttered, looking down at the plate. It would start with a few punches to the stomach at first. He would repeat everything every night, and I changed overnight. He made sure no one could see the bruises, as he would hit me where no one could see them. He made up excuses about me not wanting to come to the pack house. Everyone didn't care because they started to believe everything Chloe had told them. I changed from an outgoing girl to a coward overnight due to 2 people. I say, my father would beat me badly and then leave for most of the time by staying at the pack house. There was a rumor that he was with someone, but I never found out who it was, I whispered. One evening, I recovered from his beating, and he turned up very, very drunk. He must have drunk 8 bottles of whiskey, as when he came home, he punched me and made me drop to the ground. This is the first time he ever brought a weapon home with him from the cells. A growl in my head erupts as Lila comes closer. She hasn't said a word since I started to spill my guts to Sasha. When he started to bring weapons home, I would block her. Sasha growls, pulling me back from my thoughts to look at her. Mia, you don't have to tell me what happened, she says. I look at her and shake my head. This is the first time I have ever opened up about any of this to anyone. I need to get it out, I say with a shaky voice. Her face goes blank for a moment, but she comes back. I just mind-linked the pack that we may be another hour late or so. I stared at her and nodded. I stayed quiet for a bit and watched as Sasha helped herself to some of my food. I couldn't even take another bite of the fries after the burger. Sasha looked at me. Mia, did they stave you there? She asked, but I didn't answer her. Her eyes stayed on me, but she never said anything for a moment as she got her answer. That explains a lot, Mia. Your stomach has shrunk, and you can only eat some amounts, she says as her face gives an angry expression. I stilled. Was she angry with me? Sasha's eyes softened, and she shook her head. This anger is not aimed at you at all, my friend, she murmurs. It is aimed at all those at the pack. I gave her a small smile. Footsteps came from the side, making me look up and spot the waitress from earlier. I said nothing as I watched her take the plates away. I look at the older woman who looks at me with pity when she looks back at me. She has been listening in on your story, Mia, Lila whispers. She's a wolf, and I think she is part of the pack. I stare at her. I thought we were an hour or so away. How would a pack member be here? Here, my dear, have a cookie on the house, the older woman says, pulling me from my thoughts and handing me the cookie. Taking the cookie from her, I stare at her as she moves away with the plates and carries them back to the counter. Looking back at Sasha, she smiles at me. Shall we go to the pack? She asked. How is she from the pack? I blurt out, making Sasha still as she watches me. Sasha sighed. Some pack members work and live on and off the territory, she said. We have a lot of land, more than your pack. I said nothing as I stared at her. Sasha moves out of the booth and looks at me. You're very brave, Mia, she says. It must have been hard to blurt it all out to me. Keeping my eyes on her, I gave her a nod. Sasha looked up and then back at me. We will go to the pack, she said. I think you need to feel safe. Lila was close by and sighed. She is trying, she whispers. I move out of the booth, follow Sasha out of the cafe, and head to the car in silence. As we approached the car, I looked behind Sasha and stared at the cafe. The woman is not by the door and stares at me. Something about her seems familiar, not that I am looking at her. But that can't be. Where does the pack start? I blurred out as I remembered what Sasha just told me. I looked at Sasha, who smiled. Just before the sign, that's the start of the north side clearing, she said, and looked over. Her shoulder at the cafe. The cafe is owned by Alpha Sam's parents, she says. They bought the cafe as a retirement job. Her eyes went back to me, but I looked over at the door and spotted the old lady standing outside the door, smiling at us. I watched as she walked over to me and stopped not too far from me. The old lady places her hand and grabs mine, making me tense at the touch. "I'm Alpha Sam's mum, Luna Sarah," she says. "My husband and I retired from the pack, but I like to keep busy. This cafe is ours. You are more than welcome to come here anytime, dear." I shake her hand and give her a small smile. "It is nice to meet you, Luna," I say. The Luna Sarah laughs a little. "Nonsense. When it is just us three, just call me Sarah," she says, making me look at her confused. I don't think the new Luna Sadie, would think too highly of me having my old position back. I look confused at both of them. Luna Sarah was the old Luna, making Luna Sadie Alpha Sam's mate. "It doesn't matter. Mia, Luna Sadie, and Alpha Sam are waiting for you and also someone else," Luna Sarah says, making me look at her even more confused. "Who?" I asked, looking between Sasha and Luna Sarah. I watch their exchange, but when they look back at me and say nothing. "Let's go," Sasha said as she opened her door to the car. Stood rooted to the spot, Luna Sarah looked at me and smiled. "You know where to find me, Mia," she said. "I look forward to seeing you again." I gave her a nod and watched as Luna Sarah turned around and headed back into the cafe. I look at her, but open the car door and climb inside. I closed the door and looked over at Sasha, trying to figure out what the hell was going on, but she laughed. "It will all make sense when we get to the pack house," she said, starting the engine. "And don't fret, we won't be long getting there." I said nothing, but Sasha grinned and continued, "I think my brother will have a field day knowing his car was in the safest hands ever." My eyes widened but couldn't help but burst out laughing. "This is your brother's car?" I ask as she nods and smiles. "Yes, we both share it, even though my brother believes the car is more his than mine." I nod. Sasha turned the car around and straightened up. I look in the side mirror on the outside and notice an older man standing next to Sarah. His expression looks familiar, but I don't know where or how. The old man must be Alpha Sam's father, the old Alpha. He looks happy and sad at the same time. He has his hand on the glass as Luna Sarah walks in, but he looks back at the car and is still looking right at me. The car drives away, and I watch the cafe disappear into the distance. Aiden. For the last few hours, it has been non-stop. Walking back to the pack with the guys, I kept my head down, but I could hear the murmurs from pack members about what had happened to Beta David's cabin, but none were for Mia. Not one word was mentioned. My wolf was quiet in my head. He has moved deep within as I went over everything. Mia and I were once friends, in love even. I cared more about her than I let on. Only Darren and Lee knew. I never understood why I fell for Chloe as I did, but she was the only one there after a while. Not Mia. Why the hell was I wondering about her? Darren walked inside and went into the arms of his mate. She held him in her arms as his head went to the crook of her neck. My eyes lingered on them briefly, but I walked toward the stairs when I heard loud voices from my father's office. I tiptoed over to the door and tried to listen in by pressing my ear to the door. But I could hear my father's voice. Whoever he was with, their voice was muffled, so it was hard to work out who was in there with him. "How could you?" my father roared, making his door shake, and I jumped back. My eyes stayed on the door, but I could only hear muffling. Who the hell had my father angry? I looked to the side and noticed a few pack members looking, confusion and concern written all over their faces. Frowning, I move away and stop in front of them. "Nothing for you to see here," I murmured. "Get back to work." The pack members looked to the ground and nodded. They turned to leave, but I grabbed one of the woman's arms. She flinched at my touch as she looked back at me with wide eyes. "It's okay," I murmured. "I wanted to know if you know who is with my father?" The woman looked at me, but her eyes went to the office door, then back to mine. "Beta David," she whispered. "Alpha took him back to his office as the Beta was upset and rambled about something. He wanted to comfort him." I gave her a nod as I let go of her arm. "Thank you," I murmured. "Go back to work." The woman nodded and left. I looked over my shoulder toward the office. Why would my father be angry with Beta David? He lost his home and daughter all in one night. I looked back and sighed. Turning on my heel, I headed toward the stairs and headed up. My mind raced as I went over everything, but I stopped as soon as I approached my room. A scent wafted toward me, which made me still while my wolf growled. Chloe, what the hell was she doing in my room? I moved toward my room and opened it to find Chloe sitting on my bed. I stopped as her eyes met mine. Baby, she purred as she rose and moved toward me. My stomach dropped. I didn't need her here. I need to be on my own for a while. As Chloe approached closer, I took a step back. Chloe stopped and frowned. What's wrong? She asked. I thought we could celebrate. I growled. Celebrate what? I grunt as I move away from her and head to the window. My wolf was on edge, and Chloe being here did not make it easy for me to calm him down. Well, your birthday, she said, and we don't have to concern ourselves with Mia. I spun around on my heel and glared at her. Taking in what she had just said, I growled. What the? I muttered, making her look at me strange. I took a deep breath and sighed. My wolf growled lowly in my head, but I ignored him. Don't talk about Mia like that, I muttered. Chloe stared at me as she tried not to laugh. You can't be serious, she said. Why are you acting like this and about Mia? I stared at her, but I was numb. I couldn't understand why I was acting like this. Chloe moved toward me, but I took a step back, making her stop. She frowned. Aiden, she said. Clearing my throat, I glared. You need to leave, I said. Chloe huffed and let out a laugh. You don't want me here, she said. You didn't say that the other night. You wanted me just as much as your friends. I growled. Enough, I grit out. Get out of here. With pleasure, Chloe huffed, turning on her heel and walking to my door. I watched as she stormed out and slammed the door behind her. I felt my wolf come closer and stare. Stupid she-wolf, he huffed. I said nothing as I turned around and looked out my window. My mind was full of questions. Need a run, my wolf murmured. You are overthinking too much. We need to clear our minds. He's right. My mind was working overtime, and I had many questions about the cabin that didn't make sense and how Beta David acted. He was never nice to Mia, not since her mother left him. He stayed here most nights at the pack house, leaving his child alone in a place that was nowhere near the pack house. Okay, I blurted, agreeing with him. Maybe a run would help clear my mind. Turning around, I walked over to the door and headed out. I ran down the stairs and headed to the pack house. No one was around. I opened the door and headed into the forest. As I reached the forest line, I let my wolf take over, pushing me further into his mind as he shifted, shredding my clothes, and took off running. I moved closer and watched as he went, but stopped suddenly. I stared at the sight before me and sighed. What the hell are we doing here? I said, staring at the reminiscence of the cabin. Thought we should look for clues, my wolf mumbled as he moved closer, placing his snout into the ground to sniff. I said nothing as he moved around, taking in everything and smelling everything that he came close to. My wolf entered the cabin and moved closer, but something in the air caught off guard. Blood. My wolf growled as I moved closer, and he placed his nose on the ground to find where it was coming from. He moved around, and I soon realized that we were in the kitchen part. A low growl rumbled through us as he scratched at a bit of wood. Here, he grunted. Blood. His scenes take over as I breathe in what he smelt, and he was right. There on the wood before us was a small hint of blood. What the hell happened here? I muttered as my wolf walked out of the rumble and sat to the side, looking at all the scrapes of wood around the place. My wolf lay down and sighed. Can we stay here for a while? He asked. I said nothing as I looked through his eyes. There were more questions than answers. I needed to investigate. That's what an alpha would do, and I was to take over when my father was ready to retire. Even though there were loads of questions like how the fire started, the only two that stuck with me were, did Mia survive? And whose blood did we find? MIA. Sasha and I drove in silence as we drove through the pack grounds. It didn't take long to get there. The pack is large, Sasha said, glancing over to me as I looked at her. We are one of the largest packs in the world. I said nothing as Sasha turned the corner and a big building came into view. That's the pack house, Sasha said. My eyes stared at the pack house. It's huge. It is a castle more than a house. As we drove closer to the pack house, I noticed people standing there, 2 of them. They looked like an Alpha and Luna. I felt eyes on me as Sasha pulled the car up and stopped at the bottom of the steps. Sasha looked at me and gave me a smile as she opened the car door. I watched her as she got out of the car. My eyes lingered on her outside, but I looked up at the people who were on the steps. "You have to move," Lila said. "They seem nice." My heart rate spiked. I said nothing. I opened the door and got out. I closed the door, but my eyes went to the steps. I watched as the man and woman walked down the steps. I moved away from the car and walked over to Sasha. The alpha came down and stopped just a foot away from us as he smiled. "Sasha, so happy you are back," he said as he looked at me with a smile. "Welcome to the Dark Forest Pack," he said. "You must be Mia. Sasha has told me all about you. My name is Alpha Sam, and this here is my mate, Luna Sadie," Alpha Sam says, smiling at me. I nod and look at both. I gave them a small smile. "Thank you for letting me be part of your pack," I say. Alpha Sam smiled. Luna Sadie moves toward me as she takes my hand into hers and looks at me. I can see the resemblance. I look at her, confused. What the hell did she mean by that? I looked between the three of them. "What do you mean?" I asked her, but she said nothing. Luna Sadie looks behind me with a smile on her face. "Why don't you look around, my dear?" she says softly. I stare at her and then at Alpha Sam, who is smiling but nods in the direction behind me. Lila moves in my head and looks through my eyes at Alpha Sam and Luna Sadie, but she says nothing. I tensed as I could sense someone behind me. "Mia," someone whispered from behind me. I stilled. It couldn't be. "Mia, is that you?" she asks. I close my eyes. I know that voice. The mere thought of her. I wanted to know where she went. I was blamed for her leaving. I have been dreaming about seeing her and having her near me again. I slowly turned around, letting Luna Sadie's hand go. My eyes landed on her as my breath caught in my throat. There she stood, the woman who left me with that monster and left me behind. I took her in. She still looks beautiful from all of them years ago. The only thing that is different is the big, thick scar running down her face. Lila stares at me. "Mia," she whispers as her eyes glistened. I stared at her, trying to control my emotions, but it was all getting to me. The memories of when she was there and remembering what she was like. But the day she left was the hardest. Everything changed for me. That was the day he started his beatings on me. He blamed me for her leaving and even told everyone that I was the reason she left. All the pack members hated me for it. Everyone believed him. They believed the one who was supposed to be my father, the one who was supposed to care for me and protect me from harm, but he was the one I needed protecting from. My mom took a step toward me, but I moved back, nearly missing Luna Sadie. I glanced at her and noticed her being pulled away by Alpha Sam, who was now looking between my mom and me. Everyone stared at me as I looked back at her. I don't know what to say to her. This is all too much for me to take in. I look over to see Sasha motion me to go near to my mother. But I need to get out of there. I needed to think. I moved away and turned around. My legs started to move into a walk, but I picked up the pace as I ran to the left of me and sprinted off into the direction of the forest. All I could hear was my name being called by all of them. "Maya! Maya, wait!" I don't look back. I just keep running. Lila comes close to the surface as I climb onto the log branch. As I was about to get down, Lila shifted into her wolf form and started pounding the floor quickly as she pushed me back into her head. I watched through her eyes as she ran in and out of the trees. "Let me take over, Mia," she says. "Take your time and breathe. I know this is too much for you to handle. I can feel it all. Let me help you." I said nothing as I felt a lone tear escape and run down my cheek. Lila doesn't say a word after that, as she just keeps quiet. My head spins out of control as I mule over what happened. My mother. She is alive. There were so many questions that were flooding around my head. My body felt numb, but there were mixed emotions of fear and anger. They were more prominent. How could someone feel all those feelings in one hit? My mother was still alive and had been living in the Dark Forest Pack for all this time. No word that she was alive. I had nothing from her. Not even a damn card. Anger swirled as my mind kept going over everything. My mother left me with that monster. What was I going to do now? I couldn't wrap my head around the whole thing, especially that she was alive and looked well. MIA. As my mind raced, I didn't notice how far Lila had run off. I moved closer and looked through her eyes as she approached a clearing. She came to a stop and looked around till her eyes landed on a waterfall. The running of the water made it sound so magical. I closed my eyes, letting the sound calm me. Lila moved and walked toward it. She came to a stop and drank some water. Once she stops drinking, she stretches out her front paws and lays down near the edge of the water. Her eyes dart around, drinking in the scenery of the place, until her eyes landed on the water. I couldn't help but look at our reflection in the water. Clear as day, Lila has snow-white fur with silver sprinkles running through. Her eyes are bright blue. "Lila, you look gorgeous," I say. "Thank you," she murmurs as she slightly yawns. Since we rested all last night and most of today, I have healed some of our wounds. I said nothing as I settled back in her head. A branch behind us broke, making Lila shift and look back to see another white wolf standing staring at us by the edge of the forest line. Our eyes met, but she seemed all so familiar to me. She looks the same as me. The wolf takes a step, but Lila growls, causing the wolf to stop. The wolf who cocks her head to one side to look at us. After a few seconds, I watched the wolf form shift back into its human form. My eyes widened as I stared back at the person. It is her, my mother. Lila doesn't move, and neither does my mother. We watch as she sits down with her legs crossed, in the exact place she shifts back in as she keeps her eyes on us. "I'm not going anywhere, Mia," she says softly. She looks at Lila. "Your wolf is perfect and beautiful." Lila and I stare at her. "She wants you to talk to her, Mia," says Lila. "Her wolf is reaching out to me and telling me that we are safe and no one will hurt us." "I can't, Lila, not yet," I whisper. "I haven't seen this woman in 7 years." I stopped talking for a few moments, trying to collect my thoughts, and when I did, I continued as a lone tear escaped again. "She never came back for me," I said. "I was blamed for everything." Lila says nothing for a little while, but her love holds me there in place. "By the look on that scar, Mia, he might have hurt her too, like you." I look back at the woman, but another scent comes through our nose. Lila growls as my mother looks in the direction of the scent. "It's okay, Mia. It's Sasha. She has brought us clothes to change into." My eyes went to behind her as Sasha stepped out from behind the tree and looked at us. She gives us a small smile. "Lila, you are one gorgeous wolf," she says sweetly. Lila looks at her. Sasha stares at us. "Please, Mia, we just want to talk to you," Sasha says, looking at my mother and then towards me. "You need to hear what she has to say. I can stay if you want. I meant what I said at the motel. I'm a friend. You can trust me. You even told me your story, and now it is time to hear hers." "She has a point," Lila says. "You told Sasha what went on with you and Papa Wolf. I think we should hear Mama Wolf's story too. Maybe you will get the answers to all the questions you have." I said nothing as I watched Sasha walk over to us. She stops in front of Lila and places a long t-shirt dress in front of Lila, who hasn't taken her eyes off either of them. Sasha smiles and walks backward towards my mother, keeping her eyes on us and handing my mother the same kind of dress. I move slightly and look closer at my mother's body. She sat there naked, covering intimate areas. My eyes scanned over her arms and chest. There are scars all over her, just like me. What happened to her? My mother smiles at Sasha as she puts on the dress. She didn't even move up. The dress falls over her. I watched as Sasha took a seat next to my mother on the ground and kept her eyes on us. Lila yawns but stares back at them. I didn't want to shift back, not yet. I wanted to know more first and then decide whether I wanted to speak to her or not. It all depended on what she had to say. "Lila, stay like this for a moment," I say as I come closer to the surface, making sure I don't show myself. I don't want to change into my human form just yet. Lila stares and then nods at me. "That's fair," she muttered as she kept her eyes on my mum. My mother looks at us and clears her throat. "How about I tell you about what happened to me and why I came back here," she says, keeping her eyes on us. Lila nods as to tell her to carry on. I move closer, but there is a gasp from Sasha, but she quickly recovers. "I think Mia is listening to us. Look," she whispers to my mum, who now has a smile on her face. "That's my girl." I stare at them, confused. "What are they on about, Lila?" I ask her. Lila moves her head to the side and looks into the water, and we both gasp. Our reflection reveals why. We have one blue and one brown eye. We both have become one with each other. "We are as one," she whispers, sounding proud. Not many wolves can do that. Lila moves her head and looks back at them. My mother looks at me and smiles. I know you have loads of questions and you don't trust me. That's fine, but let me explain, please. We look back at her and nod. My mother takes a deep breath in and out and starts to talk. Well, let me tell you how I met your father. I met him here at this pack, she said. My eyes widened as she continued. My mother and father were the Alpha and Luna before. I believe you already know them. Sarah, she is your grandmother. I look back at her in shock. Your father came here with Alpha Robert to meet with my father, and that's when we met. He was handsome and charming. He was my mate. I loved him at first glance. I had to leave with him. I had to go back with him to Shadow Creek as he was beta of the pack. I was in awe of everything, she says. Alpha Robert and his Luna Marie were charming, and we were all instant friends. Maria and I became pregnant around about the same time together. Aiden is a few months older than you were. My mother stopped and looked happy at the memory, but then her facial expression changed, and sadness hit her. Everything was great. Your father was amazing at first, but he soon changed and started to drink with people at a local bar. Little things triggered him. He thought every male would be looking at me. He started to act jealous if anyone, especially a man, would talk to me. He would start shouting at me and everything. I watched on as she continued. He started to drink really heavy as time moved on, she murmured. He wanted me all to himself. He even thought Alpha Sam would come back and take me home. Her eyes glistened as she carried on. Heartbreak filled around where we were sitting. I was alone. He isolated me from everyone, she whispered. I couldn't be around anyone unless I was with him. But it all came to a head when a rogue killed Luna Marie. I was with her at the time and even saved her. I took the rogue on, but after I killed him, he got me good. But that was not before he had bitten and stabbed the Luna in the side with a silver dagger. A lone tear escapes as she looks at her hands in her lap. I was hurt and wounded too, but when everyone found us, Luna Maria was dead. I was barely holding on, she said. Her eyes met mine as another tear escaped. Your father was upset when he found us. He had another man carry me to the pack hospital. I didn't really think anything of it. While in the pack hospital, I was rested for a few hours until he came in. He was angry, asking me why I was not dead, she muttered, making my stomach drop. How could he ask such a thing about his mate? I was shocked he would say anything, but something came to mind. He always stayed away from me, and I would always find him talking to Luna Maria, she said as she wiped her tear-stained cheek. He had fallen in love with Luna Maria. He was spending more time with her than with us. I didn't say anything. After that evening in the hospital, I kept quiet as I didn't know what to do. I couldn't talk to anyone. Alpha Robert was heartbroken about his mate and was too upset to even deal with anything regarding what happened. My mother stopped as another ushered tear escaped before she spoke again. Aiden was beside himself, and you, my dear girl, helped him get through it. My mother lets her tears flow again as the memory of that fateful night comes back like a nightmare. The mere thought of Aiden set my heart racing as sadness took over. The friend and boyfriend I had before filled my head. Lila winced at the mere memory of that fateful night, letting a slight whimper out as she tried to calm herself. My eyes went to my mother as she looked back at me, realizing that I remembered hitting her hard. Everything she said came flooding back at what she said. I never noticed, as I was too young to even know what was going on, or she was good at hiding what she went through. I never once saw anything she was on about. She must have shielded you from it, Lila murmured, but I said nothing. Mum sighed and continued. After her funeral, Alpha Robert kept to himself, she said. He didn't want anyone around, not even your father. Even though we were all friends, both of our mates loved the other. It was weird, as the moon goddess always makes our mates love us and be our true fated mates. Mum looked at Sasha, who gave her a knowing smile. You were 5 when all that happened, but it got worse for me after that day, she said, looking back at me. Your father started drinking more. The more he drank, the worse he got, she said, sending a shiver right through me. He started to hurt me and would start using silver blades to cut me. He would place a hand over my mouth as he would do it, as he didn't want anyone to hear me while doing whatever he wanted to me. Mum looked away as a tear escaped. The torture he put me through was shocking and painful every time, she said. After a few weeks, he decided to move us to the last cabin in the forest. He wanted to make sure no one could hear my screaming. He told me that this was our new home. Both me and you were to live here while he left to stay in the pack house. My mother paused, wiped the tears away with the back of her hand, and looked over at me. Our mate bond was shattered due to the lack of trust and his jealousy, she said. It was the root of it all, and his love for the Luna too, Mia. I watched as a small smile appeared on her lips. Do you remember what we did with that cabin? We made that cabin our home. Remember, sweet girl, she says with a small smile, but it disappears again. He would make you go and play with Aiden all the time and your other friends. He made sure you never heard my cries or screams. He made sure no one did. I could feel all her emotions. Something bad happened next. I could feel it. Mum doesn't look at either me or Sasha. She keeps her head low, looking at her hands. The 2 nights before I left, you were staying in the pack house for the weekend. You were so excited, she murmured, making my stomach drop. But I was scared. Your father took you to the pack house. I knew I had to leave. He always acted happy when you were around. So I packed a bag but hid it well so he never knew what I was planning. I was going to leave him, and I was going to take you away, too. But when he got back, he had other ideas. He was okay at first, and then it was like a switch flipped in his head, and he started to torture me. That night, he smiled as he did it. He liked it so much, especially making me scream. Mum's tears flowed freely now as my heart broke. That one night, he ruined me, she whispered. I could feel tears filling up inside. My father tortured her like he did me, but he did the worst possible thing to a mate. After what he did, I was numb. He wanted to take everything away from me, and he did. I was left on the floor of our bedroom when he was done. He left like he had done nothing wrong. I don't know where he went. I waited for a while. My wolf was howling in my head, begging for us to leave. I knew she was right. So I got up from the floor and showered. It took a while as I washed my skiing raw, trying every trace of him off me. My mum sighed. After a few hours, I came out of the bedroom and got dressed. I moved around the house in a daze until I found him passed out on the couch. He was blackout drunk, and all I could smell was whiskey. I didn't know where he went, and I didn't care. I remember looking at him, wondering where the hell we went wrong, she said, and looked at me. I needed to get away. I went and grabbed my bag. I thought I would go and come back for you later. I made a run for it. I ran as fast as I could, and was also halfway to the motel. I stared at her as she gave me a small smile. The motel you were at earlier where you met Toby, right? She says, looking at me. Both Lila and I nod, and she smiles. I made it to the clearing of the motel, but somehow your father caught up to me. He had a silver blade in his hand, and he dragged me back into the forest. She looked up at me, and then the pieces fitted together. Lila and I worked out what happened and stared at my mother. I wanted her to confirm it. Your father and I fought for the blade, but he threw me to the ground and was too strong, she said. He climbed on top of me. He sliced the blade over my eye, and he repeated it at least 3 more times when Toby came and attacked him. Toby saved me that night. He helped me back to the motel and got hold of my father, she said. Alpha Sam is my brother, your uncle. He came and collected me from the motel a few hours later. Lila moved back, sensing I wanted to speak. I shifted back into human form. I could feel Lila whimper in my head, Lila, as she took in everything my mother had said. I ran straight into my mother's arms. Mum sat rooted to the spot at first at my movement, but soon recovered as she stroked my hair. I'm sorry that happened to you, I sob into her as she holds me. I could feel another hand reach and touch. Me, Sasha. After a few moments, I moved back and looked at my mother. I didn't care that I was naked, but she needed to look at me. I leaned back and stood, taking a step back for her to take me in. My mum's eyes look at me, but graze over my body at the scars. I saw her face go from mixed emotions, such as hatred, pity, but the guilt she had was too much. My poor baby girl, he did all this to you, she whispers as she stands up and takes my hands into hers. Sasha looked at me with anger, but also sadness in her eyes. Mia told me what happened. But Mia, what you told me in the cafe, I let a few people listen in. Knowing that stunned me, but I had a sneaky suspicion. I gave her a weak smile and nodded, but I wanted to know who knew. Who knows? I ask. Sasha looks at my mother, but my mother speaks instead. My parents, me, Sasha's aunt, who is currently not here, but she was on the phone, and my brother was on another phone with his mate, she said. Also, Sasha's brother and his friend. Don't worry, they are the only ones that know about it. They are the only ones that are important and need to know. I looked back at her and nodded. Sasha moves away from my mum and gets up. I watch her every move as she walks over to where she placed the dress for me. She grabs it and heads back, holding it to me. I smile as I pull it over my head and move it into place. We all sit back on the ground and look out towards the water. My mind raced over the last few moments. I have my mother back, but I can sense something else is missing. I am happy just to sit in silence for a while. Both of them make me feel safe and protected, which is what I wanted in the first place. Lila has now settled back in my head and starts to purr, with a small yawn escaping. I knew she was tired as that was our first ever run since we shifted, and it felt amazing. MIA. We have been by the water's edge for over an hour or closer to 2 hours. It was nice to spend time with my mum and Sasha. We paddled in the water, and my mother asked me questions about what I liked and didn't like. She wanted to get to know me all over again. She avoided the talk about my scars, which I was more than willing to talk about later, but I knew they wanted to know everything. Part of me found it difficult to tell her things about me, as, over the last several years, I lost myself due to the bullying and my father's beatings. How could I tell her who I was when I didn't know myself? I became a different person since she left, someone I didn't recognize. "How was your first shift?" Sasha blurts. I was dreading this question more, too. "I shifted when I was 13 years old after a beating brought it on," I say as I look out at the water. I could feel my mother tense, but I looked back at her, knowing I had to tell her the truth about it all. "Dad punched me for the 10th time, but it wasn't him that caused it," I said, making my mum look at me, confused. I walk over to the log that rests near the water's edge. While Mum and I were getting to know each other again, Lila was asleep until the question came. I felt her move closer, but she said nothing. I sit and stare out towards the water as my mother and Sasha sit near me. My mother was by my side on the log, but Sasha was on the ground on the other side of my mother. Dad did hit me, but he was so drunk he had passed out. It happened the night before, so he never woke up when I left to go to school the next morning. Coley, a new girl, had started causing issues for me with other people, including my friends. I said as I felt my mother tense up, but I continued. She told everyone that I was the main cause of you leaving, as I was human and not a wolf. I was late shifting because of all the beatings and also the not eating many parts, too. A low growl escaped from Sasha, but I ignored her. "Anyway, she told everyone that you were ashamed of being a human, and that's why you left," I said. After that rumor surfaced, everyone started to taunt me throughout the day. Aiden didn't say or do anything. He believed her. He followed her around like a lost puppy. He wanted her. I thought he was... My mum starts to say, but I turn to look at her and shake my head. I was on my own and had no one to turn to. All day, the taunting started, and snide remarks happened. But Choli didn't stop there when I was on my own. She decided to take out her anger or whatever she was feeling at the time, which, at the time, she had a fight with Aiden, as most people in the school could hear them down the hall. Apparently he didn't like the way she was acting towards me, but she made it clear that day that she was his girlfriend and he should have nothing to do with me. When the argument was done and Aiden left her, she was alone. I don't know what happened, but she was bleeding and blaming me for attacking her, I said, remembering that day all too well. A shiver rippled through me, but I continued. I arrived to get my books from my locker at the time. I watched Choli go to the floor and pretend to cry when Aiden came back. All he could see was Chol lying on the floor, covered in her own blood. She had wiped her blood all over me before she laid down on the floor. Mum and Sasha look on, confused as I try to tell them everything. I was too shocked to do anything, but Aiden was furious at me and pushed me into a locker, squeezed my throat hard, and nearly blacked out. Choli made him stop, and he let me go. I went to the floor. Chloe smiled as he pulled her to him and smiled. She had won him over and even kissed him in front of me. A lone tear escaped as I carried on. It hurt a lot, and after that, Aiden made Darren and Lee bring me outside. He had told them what I was supposed to have done. Coley watched on as all three boys beat me so badly that I couldn't move. Coley smiled from beginning to end. She left with Darren and Lee, while Aiden bent down and told me I was a pathetic, useless human who needed to be taught a lesson for hurting a pack member. Both of them looked at me, shocked. "Why would someone be so mean?" my mother asked. "Why would she be like that towards you?" I shrugged. "She had it in for me ever since she came to the pack," I said. "She arrived about a few months after you left, her mother and sister too, but her sister found her mate and left with him. Coley was mean then, but was never this cruel. Her sister was nice to me, but when she left, Chloe was worse," I say, looking toward the water. "I don't know what I did to her or whatever, but she had it out for me every day since she found out that I was with Adian." Clearing my throat, I continued to explain the rest of the story. "After that vicious attack, Dad was back at the pack house as he didn't know where I was. He never left anything for me to eat," I said. "Sometimes food was left outside the front door by someone who left it on the porch. I never knew who it was. It happened at least once a week, but stopped suddenly. When I came to from the beating, I limped all the way home until I got back to the cabin. But by then, I was beginning to feel hot and my body was on fire. All the pain I was in was hard, but I shifted on my own," I say. "You shouldn't have been on your own, sweet girl," Mum whispers as she places her thumb and finger on my chin, moving me to look at her. I close my eyes and sigh. "I had no option on that one," I say, opening my eyes and staring back at her. I realized I was a white wolf, and Lila explained to me that we were special. We figured out that we could mask our scent, which we used. Sasha looks at me. "So, that's why everyone thought you were a human?" she asked, making me nod. Sasha looked at me for a moment as something clicked. "How did you run around in wolf form?" she asked suddenly, and I looked down. "I didn't, not until today. I found it hard to shift due to the lack of food." Sasha growls, but I continue. "But there was something else that I found out later on, about 2 weeks after I shifted," I said. 2 weeks after shifting, I overheard Dad mention white wolves to Aiden. He told him that they are powerful, and if you ever see one, you must have it for your own, or they will destroy you. Mum's face hardened, but she didn't say anything, so I continued. I kept Lila safe, but it was a few days later that Alpha Robert made everyone in history class learn about the white wolf. Many of the boys just wanted the wolf for her power, nothing else, and the girls were afraid to mention anything, hoping they didn't know anyone who was one. Choli was a whole different thing. She laughed and said there has never been a white wolf around here in years. The last one lost her way and killed herself. I look at my mother, who stares ahead. "You were the last white wolf before me, weren't you?" I ask her, making her look at me and nod. "I never shifted in front of the pack or your father. Your grandfather told me never to shift until I knew I could trust my mate, but I couldn't shift for a while. After mating with your father, I fell pregnant with you straight away and I couldn't shift due to pregnancy. Then, once you were born, he began his torture on me," she said and sighed. "My wolf went quiet for a while due to all the abuse that he put us through. When I came here, it took me months to gain her back. She finally surfaced, but thinking about it, it was when you turned 13. She must have sensed your wolf coming forward," she says to me, placing her arms around my shoulders. Placing my head on her shoulder, I let it all go until she spoke again. "What happened with Aiden after? Did he apologize to you after what he did to you?" she asks. But I move and look at her blankly as I shake my head. "No, he never did. He never looked at me again. His main focus was on Chol. He would sit in on the beatings that she gave me and just stare at me like I never existed." Mum gave me a sad look, but it was Sasha who spoke next. "What a jackass. You both had been friends for years. He wanted to throw everything away for some buck," she says with a growl. I said nothing for a second as I gathered my thoughts. I would never go back to the pack. I hated everyone there. Clearing my throat, I place a small smile on my lips. "It's okay, Sasha. I will never see them again," I said, looking at her. I don't want anything to do with anyone from there. All I want to do now is get better and also heal myself, I say as I am about to continue, but my stomach has a different idea as it growls loudly, letting me know that I need to eat something. My cheeks go hot as my mother and Sasha laugh loudly. My mother looks at me and smiles. "Let's go back," she said. "We can get some food, and there is also someone I want you to meet, Mia." I smile but look at Sasha, who looks on blankly for a moment but comes back to us and grins. "Alpha Sam has been mind-linking me every 5 minutes to make sure you are still on the land. You must meet your uncle," she says with a smile. I nod but feel slightly nervous about meeting the rest of my family. MIA. All 3 of us turn around and head back towards the pack house. The walk back was silent, with only small talk being made. I was feeling overwhelmed, but happy that I was back with my mum. When the pack house was in sight, I notice a little boy looking over at us. He must have been about 6 years old. He stares at me and then towards my mother. Alpha Sam looks over and smiles. We walk closer. The scent of the boy is familiar, but then it hits me like a ton of bricks. I stop suddenly. My mother stops and looks back at me, and then towards the boy. She smiles. "Mia, this is your brother, Ryland, and Ryland. This is your older sister, Mia, I was telling you about," she says, looking between both of us with a smile. My mouth drops open wide. That explains the scent and why he smelt so familiar. He smells of a mixture of mum and dad. I have a younger brother, then it hits me hard. I look towards my mother, who looks back at me and nods her head. "He came from something bad, but he is also nothing like him either. He is like you, Mia," she says, raising her hand to place into mine. Ryland looks at me and stares with his mouth hanging open. "Mia, my sister is finally here. You look pretty," he says, sounding so innocent. I laugh, trying to deal with the whole thing. Ryland comes up to me and hugs my waist. I stiffened, as I never had someone do that to me before, but I soon relax and wrap my arms around his shoulders, pulling him closer to me. He looks up at me with his big brown eyes. "I will protect you, big sis." I smile down at him. "That would be nice, Ryland," I say to him, and he hugs me tighter. I look up and see Alpha Sam wrap his arms around his sister, bracing for her to lose herself. Mum leans against him as her tears flow freely down her cheeks. I couldn't work out if she was happy or sad. Alpha Sam leans his head on hers. "Both of your children are together at last?" He whispers and looks at me with a kind smile. "You must have questions to ask me, for everyone. I will answer them, but first we must eat," he says, looking towards the pack house door to his mate, who is smiling at us. Alpha Sam looks back at me and Ryland, who is now staring back at him. "Come," he said, letting go of my mother and smiling, moving away from her with his hand in hers as he continued. "There are loads to eat," he says. Lila purred in my head but said nothing. I knew she didn't want to say anything. This was a family moment, even though she was family to me. This was a reunion that was meant to happen, and boy, was it something I never thought that could have been possible. Shaking away my thoughts, I watched Mum and Alpha Sam walk to the pack house. I felt moved to look up at me, making me look at him with a smile. "Come on," he said. "We also make loads of food, and it is delicious." I grinned but said nothing. Ryland placed his hand in mine. We started to walk and headed toward the pack house. We stepped inside and headed to some huge double doors. Ryland opened it, and I stopped, rooted to the spot. Before me was a grand hall of the castle, which was filled with rows of tables. They placed food along the tables, with chairs on either side. There were loads of people, which made me feel slightly nervous. I have never been with so many people. Some people looked up and stared at me, but Alpha Sam cleared his throat and smiled. "Everyone," he called out, his eyes roaming over every single person who was sitting. "I know there have been so many questions about our visitor that have turned up, and I will tell you all about her." Alpha Sam's eyes met mine. He smiled. "Standing next to Ryland," he said, "is my niece Mia. She lives here in the pack with us, and I hope you all will treat her with the same respect you have given me and my family." Lila moved closer and looked through my eyes. I felt nervous, which sent her to look forward. "Mia," she said, "there is no need to be afraid. They will accept you, your family, to the Alpha." "That doesn't make a difference," I muttered. "I don't know if I can get used to this." Lila said nothing. She knew how I felt. She could sense it. Mum is waiting for us, Ryland blurts out, making me look at him. His eyes were in the grand hall. I looked to where he was looking, and Mum walked toward us with a smile. She stopped before us, but her eyes were on me. "I know this is overwhelming," she said, looking over her shoulder and then back at me. "No one here will hurt you. Come and have some food, then I will show you where you will be staying." I gave her a nod. Mum moved away, and we followed. Ryland's hand was mine until we reached the table where Alpha Sam and Luna Sadie sat. There were 3 seats empty on the other side of Alpha Sam. Mum motioned for me to sit in the middle seat. I sat down while Ryland and Mum sat on either side of me. "Tuck in." Alpha Sam looked at me and smiled. I looked toward the food, feeling my stomach grumble. I knew I was hungry again, but didn't know if I could eat a lot. After an hour, food went by and ate what I could. Conversation flowed freely amongst everyone, and I tried to listen in what I could, but there was too much going on. "Mia," Alpha Sam called, making me look at him. He smiled. "I know you haven't had long in the pack, and I want you to settle in for a few days," he said, and looked toward my mother, who gave him a brief nod. Alpha Sam looked back at me and sighed. "I will want to speak with you about what truly happened in your pack. When you are ready to talk, we can talk about it." I felt my stomach drop at the mere thought of bringing up what happened to me in my pack. The thought of them being my pack felt like a distant memory since I came here, but there has been too much going on in one day to even think about it. I needed to rest, and Lila agreed with me. A few days of not overthinking what happened might be what we need. "I need some time," I whisper, looking at him. Alpha Sam nodded. "I know," he said. "Too much for one day. I get that. Have a few days to get your bearing around here. Then we will talk." I gave him a nod. Another hour passed by. Lila was laying in my head and listening to what she could from many people. Some were still quiet when it came to me, and no one brought up my pack, which was good. Ryland let out a loud yawn, making me look at him. He smiled, but you could tell he was tired. "It's getting late," my mother said, making me look back at her. She grinned. "Ryland needs to go to bed," she said. "I'm going to take him up. Do you want to come with us? I can show you where you will be staying." I gave her a smile and a slight nod. We said our goodbyes. My mum led Ryland and me up the stairs and onto the 4th floor to our room. Mum stopped by a room and opened the door. Ryland stepped inside but stopped. He looked at me with a smile. "I will see you tomorrow," he said. I gave him a nod. "I will be in soon," she said. "I'm going to show Mia where she will stay, and then I will get you to bed." Ryland nodded and moved further into the room. Mum looked at me and smiled. "He is so excited to have you with us," she says in a whisper. Mum moved away, and I followed her. She came to another door and opened it. "Here is where I stay, and we all have joining rooms. That room is easier for Ryland, especially when he gets exhausted," she said, opening the door. She steps inside and motions for me to follow her. I follow her and stop, my mouth gaping open, taking in the room. Her room was like an apartment. It had a little lounge area and dining room. My eyes skimmed over the place, but I could feel her eyes on me. I was looking around. Lila came forward and gasped. "This is bigger than the cabin," she muttered. I said nothing. The mere thought of the cabin made my stomach churn. I didn't want to think about it, not anymore. As I looked around, my eyes landed on 2 doors on either side of each other. "Mine is on the right," Mum blurts, making me look at her. Her eyes glistened slightly as she continued. "The left one is yours. I had it made years ago," she said, my eyes widening at the statement, but I said nothing. "I knew you would come back to me," she whispered. I stared at her, words failing me. I didn't know what to make of the last statement, but she continued. "I knew someday you would return to me," she said, but shook her head. I shouldn't have said anything. My eyes stay on her for a moment. I wanted to hug her, but it is hard to let someone in for now after everything I have been through. I needed time. Mum looked at me and gave me a small smile. "You have a small shower room in yours," she said. "Being older now, you will want your own space." I said nothing and went to the door on the left. I opened it and walked inside. I knew Mum was behind me, but she said nothing. I stepped inside and felt slightly dumbfounded. The room was beautiful, full of light purple, which was my favorite color when I was a child. "Is light purple still your favorite?" Mum blurts, making me look at her. My emotions were getting to me. Lila purred in my head, taking in the room. It was better than what I had for the last few years. Nothing but a single mattress on the ground and nothing else. Yes, I whisper, a lone tear escaping. It's beautiful, I murmured, looking at her. She smiled but sniffed. Well, I bet you are tired and want some sleep, so I will leave you to do it. I will check on you soon. I smiled and watched my mum turn and leave. She closed the door behind her. Looking back, I looked toward the door. That had to be the bathroom. My body was tired. I could feel it. I walked over to the bathroom and quickly got myself ready. Once I was done, I turned and headed back into my room. I didn't even bother looking around again. Exhaustion took over and lay on the bed. With no time to spare, as soon as my head hit the pillow, my eyes closed and made me drifted off into darkness. Not before Lila sighed. Sleep and rest, she whispered, her words fading out. You deserve happiness now, my dear Mia. Aiden. A few days have passed since what happened with Beta David's home. There was an investigation into what happened, but everyone put it down to gas. I knew it wasn't gas, but I couldn't tell anyone what I found. I had no proof or idea whose blood I found. Everyone has been back to normal around here. Going to training and having fun, even though I have done the same, my mind often wanders to Mia. My heart sinks every time. I don't know if it is guilt for what happened to her or the fact that I haven't been a good friend to her over the last few years, coming to bite me on the ass. It was hard to tell which one. All the above, my wolf blurted out with a growl. I ignored him and looked out the window of the office. My wolf hasn't been talking to me tidily and has blocked me a few times since that night by the cabin. We stayed there for a while till the sun came up and strolled back. But when we got to our room, Chloe was there, which only made him mad. He didn't want to have anything to do with her, and at that point in the morning, with no sleep, neither did I. But that didn't stop him. I sent Chloe away, which she wasn't happy with, but I didn't care. I stayed in my room most of the next day, trying to catch up on my sleep even though it didn't come naturally. My mind raced over everything, but questions kept popping into my head. After a few hours of trying to get some sleep, I went to training and kept my mind off of everything. My friends, Lee and Darren, were quiet for a while, but after training, we all went to our local hangout and enjoyed some time together. We talked about Mia for a little while before Chloe and Sarah came into the room. All three of us knew what Chloe was like regarding Mia. She would run her mouth off about her horribly and how we felt. We didn't want to hear it. I knew my wolf would probably appear if he heard anything bad. While we were together, Darren and Ellie were together. We talked briefly before Darren and Ellie were all over each other. It was nice, and I was happy for them, but part of me wanted to find my mate. After my birthday, I knew my mate wasn't in the pack. I admit I was more revealed that Chloe wasn't my mate, but that didn't change her. She was still trying to be all over me. Shaking my thoughts, I looked through the window of the office. I was waiting for my father to return. He has been on Beta David duty ever since the fire. He has been acting weirder every time I see him. He was still drinking, more heavily than normal. The death of Mia might have been the tipping point for him. My father has been watching over him and even asked me to do some alpha business while he was looking after him, which I have been doing. It has been a good excuse for Chloe to keep away from me. When I mentioned I was doing more alpha duties, she looked excited and mentioned becoming my Luna. But I ignored her, telling her I had to think about it. My wolf growled at the mere thought of her. She's not our Luna, he muttered. She will never be ours. I looked back at him. Fran frowned. What if we have to choose a chosen mate? I asked. My wolf glared at me. Not happening, he growled. Mate will be Luna, and no one will tell us otherwise. I said nothing, but I felt defeated. There was no use in trying to persuade him. He was stubborn. My wolf huffed in my head and moved further back. He placed a block up on me, which only made me roll my eyes at the damn dog. Staring out the window, I watched a few people jog by and head toward their homes. They all seemed to be happy. Glancing over my shoulder, I looked at the clock and sighed. It looked like my father had forgotten to come here again. Where the hell was he? Looking back at the window, I sighed. I needed to leave. I was supposed to meet Darren to review the extra training session I wanted him to do. Lee was my second in command, my beta, but Darren was my friend and even offered to help. He knows Lee is to be my beta, but I wanted to tell him I wanted him to be my gamma. I needed them both to help me run this place when I take over, and they have been my friends since we were young pups. A ping from my phone echoes around the room, which pulls me from my thoughts. I moved away from the window and grabbed it from the desk. It was a text from Darren. "Where shall I meet you?" I sighed and typed a message for him to meet me in the office. There was no point in going anywhere else. We probably would be disturbed by others around us if we went to the lounge or even my room to talk. After sending the text, another two came through. One was from Lee, which read, "I have changed the tire on the car and looked over the engine." It read, "I sorted it all out and it will be ready for whatever journeys we take now, even to school." Lee is handy with mechanical things and my car was playing up. I asked him to look at it and he agreed, but finishing it took him all day. I messaged a thank you and told Darren and me to meet in the office to review the new training. Knowing that he wouldn't answer and come straight here, I looked at the other message from Chloe. I frowned, letting my finger hover over the message. Part of me wanted to know, but I wasn't bothered by what she was doing. Letting out a sigh, I pressed open and read it. "I'm popping into town with my mum to go shopping," she texted. "We are taking her care, making a day of it, and may even stay out overnight." Without texting back, I felt slightly relieved. At least I could breathe for a night, and not have her hound me like her next meal. Shuddering at the thought, I move back but stop when I spot Chloe and her mother coming into view, which makes me frown. Knowing they were heading out was not the problem. The problem was they were heading in the wrong direction. Keeping my eyes on them, I step to the side and watch, keeping out of sight. Chloe and her mum, Josephine, look around before walking away, but I watch them both look up at the office window before they do. I move away, keeping away, and place my head on the wall till I look back and notice they are walking toward the north border, nowhere near where their car is parked, which is odd. I step out and watch them, watching Josephine look around again, and they both shift into their wolves. What the hell were they doing? A knock on the door echoed around, while my eyes stayed glued to the two wolves until they were out of sight. I needed to find out what they were doing. The door opened, which made me look over my shoulder to see Lee and Darren stepping inside with smiles. "Hey," Darren said, walking over to the chair and Lee following him. "Where's the training schedule?" I said nothing while my mind raced, but I knew I had to tell them what I saw. Maybe it was nothing, but why text me and lie about what she was doing? After everything that has happened here over the last few days within the pack, I wanted nothing else to happen. If I was going to be taking over after my father, I needed to figure it out for myself. But with the help of my beta and gamma,